comfortable position. If you're in a noisy environment, try and look for a quiet environment where you'll be able to assimilate. We're actually going to be looking at a very critical topic in product management, right? So I think all you need for this class is get a pen and a notepad and, be ready to listen. All right, so today we'll be looking at how to write a PRD, right? I'm very, very sure you must have heard this a lot of times. They tell you, oh, a PRD, what does a PRD mean? Right, this is a very, very critical thing. In fact, for some job interviews, the only thing they would ask you is for you to write a PRD, right? So that is why this topic is very, very crucial. All right, so we'll be looking at a couple of things. This class is going to be very practical, so I'll be sharing a lot of resource, and then we'll be, having conversations. So it's going to be back and forth, right? And I mean, we're going to learn from this process. All right, so I think we should just go straight into it. Let me grab it. All right, so please let me know if you can hear me.
We can hear you.
We can hear you.
All right.
We can hear you.
All right, awesome. Awesome. So let me just share my screen. So how to write a PRD, right? So first question. I know I think this is the third week for the learning phase, right? So in your PM journey, I'd like to hear from you. How has it been so far? Or how has the journey been so far for you? What have you learned? And then we would also look at the last assignments you did. But I think I'd like to also listen to you. So, I mean, we're in the third week of the learning phase. What have you learned, and how has been your journey so far? So you can unmute your mic and speak. Who's going first? Yeah, you can unmute your mic if you want to speak.
So
Okay.
hello, good evening.
All right, good
So
evening.
far we've learned about idea generation. I've learned about how to validate my ideas, how to
Okay.
create a user story. And through the assignment I was able to apply myself with everything that I learned this previous week. So yeah, that's all.
Okay,
So
beautiful.
far.
Beautiful. Who's going next?
All right, good evening.
Good evening, Damilola.
So for me, actually, I really wanted something that wouldn't be so technical. And so far, I feel like I made the right decision moving from the idea generation class, design thinking. I mean, now it's like I'm practically applying some of these things to what I do. And then the assignment has been very, very practical. It makes the fact that we have to think out of the box and do our own research is quite, I don't know, it's actually challenging sometimes, but I feel like it makes all, it just sent out to bring out the best in us. And so far the class has been easy, exciting, and at the same time, just trying to bring us out of our comfort shell.
Beautiful.
And I want to say that we actually enjoy your class, so it's very good to have you back.
Thank you very much. I heard that as well. I mean, I think the other day I was going on Twitter and I saw a couple of people tweet about their experience. I mean, I felt like, oh, I'm actually giving value, and I feel like you appreciate the value that I give, and I don't take that for granted. And because of that, I've decided to also give more to you. To dedicate myself completely to make sure that you all reach the goals you want to reach, and all of that. All right, so can we have one more person and then we'll move to the next thing?
Okay, good evening, everyone.
All right, good evening.
Yes, so far the learning phase has been awesome from the first class, the design thinking class to last week class. Last week was not really smooth for me personally because I'm currently writing my exams and to squeeze out time to learn and it has been a little bit tasking for me, but then still still thank God, sha, because I have like I can call them my family now. The Web3 ladies, we have a personal group chat and they were really helpful to me last week. So they didn't allow me lag behind and it has been awesome so far, Sha. The experience has been wonderful and I'm happy to learn. I'm happy
Beautiful,
to have you back too. Thank you.
beautiful. Thank you very much. All right, awesome. Awesome. Thank you for that feedback. So yes, let's look at the last assignment. I mean, you did well. Earlier in the week, we had a glitch with releasing the scores. Um, there was an upload process. So I think at first everybody scored 0/15, and my email was blowing up. I had people email me that, oh my God, I scored 0/15. How can I do better? What could I have done wrong? How can I learn? I mean, I saw all of that, and I mean, thank God I had to address it earlier, in the on the channel that okay, it was an error, and then it was fixed. But I mean, I think I like the fact that some people were still, in as much as the there was some sort of wow, if I could score 0/15, then it means I need to learn more. It means there's something I'm not getting right. So I like that mindset. I like that mindset in a lot of people. So this is the actual uh statistic of the assignment last 2 weeks ago, right? And on average, people scored above 8. The median score 9, right? And in total, right, we had about 44, 45, 45 submissions in total, right? And I mean, we had a couple of people score 15, most people scored 10, 12, 13. I mean, you can see that the distribution is fairly good, right? You have people that scored above average, and a lot of people, did very, very, very well. So I mean, kudos to that. So I know by popular demand, a lot of you want us to actually also review that. So I'll just quickly show you samples of what I was expecting, because I want you to also learn. I want you to see how it can be done, and I also want you to see why some people might have scored higher than the other people, just so you know what you need to do by yourself, how you need to improve yourself next time. So I'll share my screen. Let's start from this. So this is an example of a submission. Let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes,
We
we
can.
can.
All right, awesome. So this particular lady, right, started from describing the product. After talking about the product, she spoke about the persona, the targeted users. Very beautiful. And see how she broke it down. Gave me the age, told me about their behavioral features, gave me their demographic features, live in low communities, tech savvy, always looking for extra income. So she's giving me the psychographics as well, always trying to get back control on their finances. So this I like that she captured the data points or those things that matter to that product and why these people are the best fit for the platform, as she was referring to. So as she went further to say that she conducted a user interview, right, and she summarized the results she got, which was very good. A lot of you, I like that you actually did carry out that research, which was good. I saw people even share me the Google form links. Very beautiful, right? So what this lady did, which was interesting, is she also gave me insights on the results she got from the interview, right? So she also got me reviews. She went as far as checking the reviews on Play Store just so that she can validate the data she she's pulled. So you can see a suggestion she made: app crashes, layouts, limited fund deposit. All of these things are okay. These are things that she pointed out as problems, pain points. You know, after empathizing with the user, you want to highlight the real issues, right? Then she went further to explain what she would do to improve, right? So, and this is the stage of hypothesis. She's making hypotheses of things that would potentially help the product, right? You know that I told you that in the design thinking class that when there is a problem, for you to be a good product manager, you must assess all the variables, all the approach that you can suggest that would actually solve that problem, and then you test out those solutions. You can even use A and B testing. You can do prototyping, build wireframes, just so that you test to be sure that the right solution is what you now choose eventually. So this was very good. Then this is another person. This another person also. She conducted a user interview. She gave me the demographics, the age. Then I like this. She gave me the empathy map, right? Told me about who these people are, right? Who are the persona? How do they think? What do they say? What do they see? You know, what are their gains? What are their pains, right? Which is very good, right? Very, very good. She gave me the problem statement as well. You know, I highlighted more like from the point of empathy. Then she also suggested the solutions, you know, based on the variables available, right? And you know, she threw in this chart to you know, just allow me understand what the solution would look like, right? So very, very impressive assignment. I was really impressed. You know, one thing that impressed me about this assignment is that there is no template. So he allowed you to think outside the box. He allowed you to, you know, write from the point of being a problem solver, which is what was needed, right? So I think you have the confidence you need for the future assignments you're going to be doing. One thing I just want to say is that whatever you do, giving your best, right? The only difference between the person that scored 15 over 15 and the person that scored 12 over 15 or 10 over 15 is someone went extra mile. Someone gave me more, she gave me more optics, things I could see that could wow me, right? And you always want to make yourself stand out all the time. The only way you can do that is by, you know, going the extra mile, doing extra research, you know, trying to give extra details, right? And trust me, that's the way users see products. In the market today, there are a lot of fintech solutions. Why do we have a particular product succeeding more than the other? It's because people always notice products that stand out, right? So as a product manager, you want to build products that will stand out. So, and all of these things starts from your documentation processes, from how you highlight your user stories, and all of those things tell me that yes, you know, you're going to be an exceptional product manager. All right, so let's look at what a PRD is. So a PRD, right? Just like when you want to build a building, right? You always have the designs. If you want to erect a 23-story building tomorrow, the first thing you do is not digging the floor, obviously. The first thing you do is not also employing laborers, obviously not. What do? You start by mapping out the structure, right? You want to say, oh, I'm building a 25-story building. How tall is it going to be? How is the first floor going to be? Where is the lift going to be? All of those conversations, you put them together, you piece everything together. All these things are critical whenever you're about to erect any kind of structure. So this is the same thing for products. For every product, there has to be a PRD. It is the PRD that guides you, that tells you what exactly are you building and how would it look like, right? So it stands for Product Requirement Documents, PRD, right? And then is a first document prepared at the moment of conceptualizing an idea, right? So you don't build a PRD later. No, you build it from the point of when you are having that idea, right? So, and one thing about the PRD is that it survives the product. It is living and breathing. And why did they say living and breathing? Is because at each point of the product's development, you are documenting. You are documenting. For instance, idea, you tested, you documented there. You build, you add that documentation. You release, you did beta testing, you did alpha test. All of that information goes into your PRD, right? Because the PRD helps you to anybody, even if a new product manager comes there tomorrow and wants to take over from you, they can understand what exactly the product is doing, and they can understand what had happened in the past, what is currently happening, and what will happen in future, right? So that is exactly what the PRD does. So please unmute your mic. Let me know if I'm clear, if you understand this.
Yes, go on.
All right. Any more? Let me hear more people. Do you perfectly understand this to this point?
I
Yes,
understand.
Yes, I
Okay,
understand.
okay, awesome. Awesome. So who writes the PRD? Right. So the product manager does this, and you don't do this alone. You're doing this in collaboration with engineers, product designers, data analysts, right? I'd like you guys to know that you're very lucky to be in the product management track, because you are the only one that gets to know about everything, right? You are in charge. You are the person that directs everybody. The data analyst is going to be coming to you to ask about, oh, what metrics should we use in measuring our products. The UI UX is going to be coming to you to tell you that, oh, what kind of wireframes should I build? Is this good to go? Can the engineering continue with what has been designed? So the box stops at your table as a product manager, right? And that's why I am thorough in teaching you, because I know that what I'm telling you today is going to affect extensively a lot of lives, because you are building products that will affect the lives of people. So I really want you to take this seriously, right? Because if you get it wrong, it means that the UI UX is going to be wrong. It means that the data would also be wrong. It means that the engineering team also built wrong features, or features that would not scale, right? So that's why, as a product manager, you have to be thorough. You have to be very conscious of what you're doing, and you have to be a good listener. You have to be problem solver, and you have to wear many hats, right? So, all right. So I thought about it. That was the best way to tell you how to write a PRD, obviously by showing you a PRD, right? So that you can actually see what I'm saying. Now, the PRD I'm going to be sharing with you, I would say it's more of a sketch. So it comprises of a lot of everything that should be in a PRD, but it's a sketch from a different product. So think of it as just a guide, right? But it exactly tells you what it's meant to do, right? So I'll be sharing my screen so you'll be able to see that. Just a second. All right. So let me know if you can see my screen. Type in the chat box. If you can see my screen, just type yes, so that I know you're able to see the PRD document I'm about to share. Oops, okay. Thank you. I can see your responses. All right. So we'll be going straight to it. So this is a PRD document, right? One thing you need to know about the PRD is that you can decide to use any style you choose. You can decide to, necessarily, it has to just be a Word document, right? So the designs you're seeing here are personal. Like I'm someone that I really like optics a lot. So I want to always give the best in what I do. So that's why you can say that it's well designed. But for anybody else, you can just be just a normal Word document is good enough. All right. So the first thing in my PRD here is that I highlighted that, okay, Awaba is a product, but there are different parts of the product. So you have the mobile app. The mobile app is a product in itself. Then there's a dashboard for the admin, right? The management staff. So the admin dashboard is a product in itself. They also have a platform for agents, referral agents, people that onboard other users, right? Those ones have their own dashboard. Now that is a product by itself, right? So all of this. So you want to understand what you are trying to take care of in your PRD, because each of these products have to have their own individual PRDs, right? Because they are different products, right? They are different products. So like I gave you an example earlier on, in Facebook today, Facebook is so big that they have a product manager that just handles friend requests, right? Friend requests, where you send and accept requests. There is a team, a whole product team that works on that. Every time they develop the way it should look like, how the CTA button should look like, all of that conversation, that's what they do. There's another product team that their own job is the timeline, the feed. Now that's a product for them. All they do in their stand-up is how can they make the timeline feed better for users, right? So depending on the business you find yourself in, right? Some businesses, you are the one that will determine everything, the entire product, right? So it depends on what the scale of the organization you are working in, right? So for this PRD, basically we're basically focusing on the website, right? The web app, right? So, but if it was a mobile app, that would also be a product in itself. All right. So what do we have to look at first? We looked at the personas, right? Who are we building for? Like I told you, the personas are the most important people for a matter to what you're building, right? So, okay, I think I should also mention this. You'd also find yourself working in products that have API integrations, right? Maybe you are sharing your API with third parties. Now, you also have to capture that as an element, because sometimes some APIs, some companies would hire you as a product manager for only APIs. So you're handling all the API infrastructure, all of that, integration processes, right? So you also want to take note of that. All right, so for the personas, right? One thing I highlighted here was for the product I'm building, there are different people that can use it, right? You're not building for everybody, you're building for specific people. So you want to know who these people are. So one thing I realized, one thing I saw in your assignments is that most of you gave me one persona type, which is good, right? I mean, there are some products that just have one persona type, but there are some other products that have other persona types, right? So for a piggy vest, for instance, they are targeting the working class. They are targeting people who are dependents, probably teenagers who are trying to save, right? So these are different personas, different people with different characteristics, right? So you want to differentiate these people that, okay, I know I'm building for a lot of people, but let me segment them. There are different clusters of people that you are catering for. So you want to understand who they are first before you go deep into saying how would this product even satisfy them, right? So for this product, I highlighted, you have the market woman, because it's actually a pension platform, right? That allows people to save, right? It's a micro pension platform. So obviously artisans are within the scale, right? Artisans, people in the trade unions, self-employed professionals, contract staff and freelancers, right? So these are personas that the product intends to target, right? So then after you've highlighted the persona, you go further to highlight the demographic of that persona, the psychographic of that persona, and the behavioral elements of that persona. So for instance, for instance, I'm picking people in, market people, right? So market man, market woman, depending on what you call them. You want to say, okay, these people are between the age of 18 and 65. They have basic education. They work in the informal sector. They're in the lower or middle class range. They are not so tech savvy. They own a bank account or a cooperative account. They are interested in planning for their future. They understand how to analyze data you have a minimal skill of analyzing data. So you want to highlight this, right? So let me know if you understand this to this point. Do you understand this to this point? Please unmute your mic.
Yes, I understand, but I have a question.
All right, please go ahead.
Okay, I've heard of a product roadmap. Is it the same thing as a product requirement document?
Okay, so we are going to get to that. It's different.
Okay,
The product
okay.
roadmap is different. So definitely, I'm going to show you what the product roadmap is. All right. So now the other thing that should be in your PRD is you're looking at the product vision, and you're looking at the product strategy, right? If you remember in the first class when we did design thinking, we spoke about the vision, right? Where we talked about product vision. We mentioned that you want to understand the three things that are important. That is the user's objective, the business objective, and the product objective. So as a product manager, you have people that you report to, the CEO, for instance, or there's a board, probably there's a board of directors, right? So you want to understand, okay, these people, they don't care if the user gets satisfied or not. What they care about is, okay, are we building a product that can give us 6 figures in revenue, right? Now, to them, that's their objective. That's what they want to achieve. They want to build a product that can capture at least 10,000 people, or that can give them $20 million after 6 years. So that's their objective as the business, right? Now, the user's objective is different. What the user is thinking about is, oh, I need a mobile app that can help me order food in 5 seconds. Now, that's the user's objective, right? Then you have the product objective. The product objective is that, okay, what's the product going to achieve? Okay, this product is helping people order for food by using artificial intelligence, blah, 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 so that they can now get their food in 5 seconds. Now, that's the product's objective. So you are, as a product manager, you are speaking to these people to understand where the points align, right? You want to align on everybody's objective and know where you are. Like, you don't want to fall short. You don't want to build a product that falls short of the business expectations. You don't also want to build a product that falls short of the user's expectations as well. So that's why you have to account for this in your PRD. And I'd like you to know that what you're seeing right now is very different, right? If I had a PRD like this when I started out, I mean, probably it would have been easier for me, right? But you're learning from my experience. You're learning from all the things I've learned by virtue of the courses I've taken and all the products I've also worked on in the past, right? So this is going to actually help you to stand out also, because these are very unique things I wish I learned when I started as well. So after you look at the product vision, you look at the product strategy. Now, what does the product strategy mean? Right? The product strategy, essentially, what it means is that how can we achieve the vision? Strategy is a question of how, right? So I want to make 1 million naira in 1 year. How would you do this? That is where strategy comes in. So strategy is going to answer the question that, okay, you know what? I'm going to start by learning banking and finance. From there, I will do an internship course. From there, I would apply for a McKinsey program. So now that's the strategy for me to achieve $1 million, right? So same thing in products. So you said, oh, you want your product to get 1,000 users. You want to be able to help users do X, Y, Z. How would you do that? So that's where you are lighting this in your product strategy. So you're saying, oh, okay, the first thing you want to do is release XYZ features. We intend to build XYZ platform to be able to match up to those visions we've highlighted. So that's what strategy. The crucial part, and I'm quite sure, I think a number of you should be familiar with this, is the problem statement, right? The problem statement. Now, the problem statement is very, very important, right? Because this is where you now highlight the head and tail of your products, right? So what are the 3 important parts of that problem statement? You have the problem itself, you have the solution, then you have the goal. You have the problem, you have the solution, and the goal. So let's look at the problem first. So we are saying that for people within the age of 18 and 65, with income earnings between maybe 10,000 naira and 50,000 naira within the informal sector. Remember that this should tell you about that demographic thing we talked about. So that's what you're saying in that at that first line. Now the second line is saying who have the need of planning towards retirement. So you're not just looking at the people, you're looking at what do they need, right? And remember, I told you that all of these things are going to be validated in your user research, right? You'll be validating all of those important parts in your user statement, your user research, right? So then you move to solution, right? So in the solution part, you're now looking at the product. That okay, Awaba is a web-based and a mobile-based platform. Now, remember I told you that you can be building a product that solves a problem, but if you use the wrong platform, the product will fail. The product will maximally fail because you want to be sure that the platform you are using is what they will prefer, right? There are some products that they are best used if you don't need a mobile app for it. There was no need to create a mobile app. A web-based is the best version to satisfy the user's need. There are some that the mobile app is the best because, I mean, it's easy. The data is cached, all of that information. So you want to understand if the platform you have chosen is the best way to solve those problems for the user, right? There are some products that, for instance, they only just need a USSD, and that's what the user needs. So you want to highlight that in your solution statement. Then you are looking at what you're helping the user to do. So you allow the user to save towards retirement. Now, remember what the solution is offering and what the users are complaining about. They must match. There must be if it does not match, then it means that you are building for the wrong people, right? So if you read the problem statement again, you see that part where they say people who have a need of planning towards retirement, Awaba is a solution that allows users to save towards retirement. So we've gotten that to that point. The next stage is, unlike other pension companies, our product is unique because it gives underserved users access to leverage on various pension options. Now, what this means is that you are working in a market. Your product is not existing in isolation. Any product you have today, the users have an option. They're probably using Piggyverse, they're using Cowrywise. So why would they choose your product? Why would they choose Awaba? So because you want to know what will make them switch, right? You don't want to just build a product that solves problem. You also want to build a product that is capable of acquiring users' attention. So that's why this is important in that problem statement. So we are saying that, okay, unlike Binance, unlike MetaMask, this product is unique because we are going to be using XYZ feature, maybe AI or NFT, things like that, because you want to know that, what do they call it? That wow factor, right? That eureka moment the user is going to get and say, wow, I've been using this for 20 years. I never knew that I could get extra when I do this, right? And I'll give you an example. You have Bolt, you have InDriver, right? The reason why some users are moving from Bolt to InDriver is because InDriver is helping the user choose their own prices. So you are going to a place, you can now type in the amount you're ready to pay, rather than Bolt that would give you the price automatically, and you can probably even pay higher than that. So now you see the differences, right? Bolt and InDriver helps users to order rides online. That's the main problem. Now, both products solve that problem equally because from your house, you can order a ride and get to where you're going. So that perfect. They are both doing the same thing. But the way they do it is what now makes users switch. So this one is allowing you to set your price, right, before the ride even comes to your location. Right? So in every product must have this. So that's why when you're writing a problem statement, you account for it to be sure that there's something different about your product, right? Then the next thing you look at is the goal. Now the goal is telling you, how would we know we have succeeded? I built this product. What does success look like for this product, right? What's the goal for this product, right? So before you even start anything, you must highlight it first, because that's going to be your North Star metric. That's going to be like your holy grail. That's what you're going to be chasing. That, oh, this goal is that within 6 months of launching this product, at least 30% of people 30% of people that signed up must become actual users. Now, that's a goal. So it means that once I launch, I must track my metrics to be sure that I achieve that goal. So anything that makes me fall short of that goal, it means that I can now suggest to the management that, oh, it seems this product is going to fail because based on the metrics we have set, there is no adoption. Or it could also be that there's a feature you need to change. There's something that is wrong. Probably user journey is not as seamless as you expect, or there's a regulatory barrier somewhere, right? So that's why you must have a goal, so that when you are measuring your results, you are seeing that, okay, if this thing is less than 30%, then I should not be happy. I know that there's a problem. If it's higher than 30%, I know that, oh, I'm doing well, right? So it's more like your scorecard, right? So if you understand this to a point, so I need one person who can summarize this. So tell me what a problem statement is from the problem, solution, and goal standpoint. So just one person who can summarize what the problem statement does. So you can unmute your mic.
Okay, so I want to give it a try.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. From what you've explained and what I can understand in my own word is that a problem is, I'll say, the user's pain point, how we can best serve the users, where they are lacking, so it's a need we are meeting in particular for the users. So whatever we are doing, we are having the users in mind. So to meet the most important needs, why they need an app or a website or something, or our product. And the solution is, how are we going to meet these needs? It's just like a pattern or a formula or a method of how we are going to solve the problem of the user. And then the goal is just like a checklist to see, oh, okay, so have we done this correctly? What are we doing right? Have we gotten results? Okay, goal could be our result meter to show that, oh, we are making progress. So it's like a checklist. Let me just put it that way. So that's just my.
All right. Very well done. Very well done. All right. Thank you very much. So what you notice is that anything in brackets is so this is a template that is used from everlasting to everlasting, to be honest, right? So as a product manager, what changes between product A and product B is these things in brackets, right? So if you are building a Web3 product, it means that you are editing these things. So people within XYZ who need XYZ is a web-based that does XYZ. So the template is the same, only that the content within the brackets are what you're going to change, right? So then I also mentioned assumption testing. So this is a point where you test each of these things. So remember I told you that each of these things must, you have to validate it to be sure you are doing the right thing. So customers are people within the income earning brackets, within the informal sector, right? So it means that in my questionnaire, I must ask them, how much do you earn? What kind of work do you do? So what I'm seeing in that questionnaire is to help me know who these people are, right? Then I'm also saying, what do you need? What is your biggest problem? Walk me through what you do every day. In that interview, I'm trying to get them to tell me if they really need retirement, right? So then you want to validate this other one, right? Where it says customers want a web-based platform. So you're asking them, how would you want the solution to be offered to you? Would you want it to be web? Would you want it to be a website? Would you want it to be on a mobile app? So that data from the survey you carry out will tell you if you're good to go on this. So you're testing each of those assumptions, right? And do note that when you're testing, make sure you're testing with the right people. The moment you test with the wrong people who are not supposed to be your customers, they will give you wrong, you're going to get wrong data. And then it means that you are not certain that this would work. So you want to make sure that the people that are filling the questionnaire are actual people who fit into your persona type, right? So there's this key they call important and non-important, known and unknown. So primarily what that means is that how important is this assumption? Are we going to fail if we don't validate it, or are we not going to fail, right? Then do we know this information or do we not know it? So they are just keys to just help you measure the importance of those assumptions. So any assumption that is important, it means that if you don't validate it, the product might fail. But if it is not important, it might mean that, oh, okay, even if I don't get the data for this, it does not determine the success or failure of the product, right? Then you have the, is it known or unknown, right? That is it something you're familiar with or you're not familiar with? So if you're not familiar with it, it means that you have to get more data. So that's what this legend actually talks about, right? Then I added this, right? Now what you're seeing on your screen is an assistance, right? It might not be in your own PRD, but what this does is there are cases where you are going for an interview and they'll give you a business case, right? They'll ask a question that, oh, there's a business, they've not made 20 million naira, they've not done this, they've not done that. How will you solve this as a product manager, right? Now, the best way to answer this is you first highlight what stage is this business, right? So in this case, I said, okay, what's the current stage of our bar? So I highlighted that our bar is in the growth stage. Now, obviously, you know what, when a business is in the growth stage, it means that, okay, they've already gotten some customers, they have maybe some sort of revenue, they are scaling, right? So there's introduction, there's growth, there's maturity, and there's decline. Introduction means that the product is new, right? At this point, you might not even have customers. Maybe what you have is just the MVP, right? And you have something that can be tested by people, but you've not gotten traction. Growth is, yes, you have gotten traction. That's why you can see the graph is on an upward trajectory. Then you can see maturity. So maturity is that, oh, okay, they've grown. They are now at the point of either decline or it's just stagnant, kind of, right? And then you have the decline. So decline is that the business is losing customers, they're no more making any money, and things are just getting bad. So I'll give an example of what these things mean. So business in the decline stage, an example, look at the business like Nokia, right? You can classify, it's a big business, right? They make billions, but you can't classify it as a growing business. They're currently going through a decline phase. So if you're a product manager and they tell you that, okay, I'm employing you at Nokia, what are you going to do? So you're starting by understanding that, okay, this business is at the decline stage. So what this means is they are losing customers. And then you now say, okay, fine. If this business is losing customers, what are the variables? The variables are the product is either bad, or the marketing is not good enough, or they have regulatory issues, or they are competitors that so that's why you have to start from business stage, so that you highlight where the problem is coming from. So if it's at the maturity stage, now a business in that maturity stage is a flutter wave, for instance, or a pay stack. They've already blown, literally. They are up there, right? They've gotten a lot of customers and they're just there, right? So if they ask you that, oh, I'm employing you as a product manager at Flutterwave, what are you going to do, right? So you're highlighting that, okay, at this point, this business is within the maturity phase. They've gotten customers, they've gotten this. Now, what would you do? It means that you're telling them that, okay, I think this is the time we need to rethink our product. We need to highlight other products we can create to solve more problems, right? Because you want to understand what they need at that point in their business. You don't want to suggest a solution that might not work for the stage they are in, right? So if it's in the growth stage, also you know that this stage you want to manage growth. You want to manage all the customer queries. People are coming on your platform. There's enough traffic. So it means this is the point where you are looking at technical depth. That okay, am I sure that my server will not crash if this traffic hits, right? I have a website for ordering ice cream. Am I sure that during Christmas this platform would not crash because of the traffic volume? So I go to my backend, I tell my backend, what is our server space looking like? Do we need to upgrade, right? So you must understand the business phase first so that you know what you need to solve or what kind of suggestions you can bring, right? So in the introduction phase, same thing. You're thinking about traction, you're thinking about marketing, you're thinking about revenue growth, right? So a business like Mono is in this case, right? A business like Quidax is also in this case, right? So that being said, I've spoken about the variables, I've spoken about the business goal. Now, the next important thing is the user journey, right? User journey. You would, as a product manager, you hear this a lot. Oh, work on the user journey. Give us what's the user journey. Now, what the user journey essentially tells you is you are mapping out the flow of three things, three very important things. What happens before the user gets to your product? What happens when the user is using your product? What happens after the user has used your product? Now, mapping out this journey helps you to know where you need to solve it. So, for instance, I'll give an example for Awaba, right? Now, I looked at it and said, okay, in the pre-buying phase, that is before the user begins to save, the truth is they want a place where they can calculate their pensions. That, okay, if I invest 10,000 naira for 12 years, how much would I make? What my pension, what's the pension rate? What's pension value going to be like? Now, having a pension calculator on Awaba is a feature. So it means that even before you start investing, I've created a solution for you, right? So you want to highlight it. There are other solutions you can bring, and literally you call them acquisition features, right? So it could be that in your own case, you want to build a blog where you'd answer questions that users always ask. In another case, it could be that you are building a tool, maybe a tool that can help users to analyze. Maybe you are building an accounting software, for instance. Now, an accounting software, if you want people to use the accounting software, you can give them an invoicing free tool. So they can go there, download invoices. After they download the invoice, they see an option to sign up or to register. So those things acquire customers for you and they help you to convert them. You convert faster, right? So that's why it is good to look at the user journey first so that you know at what point and where do you need to bring in your features, right? Now you have the buying phase. Now the buying phase is the point where you are introducing your solution itself, right? So for Awaba, right, obviously there's going to be a saving feature. There's a feature for wallet, right, where they can fund their wallet. There's a transfer feature. There's a withdrawal feature, right? So there's the settings menu. So all of these are within the buying phase, right? Because this is the point where the user is now using the product. Now there's the post buying phase. There's a point of, okay, now they're already customers. They're done with investing, right? As a product manager, you also want to be there waiting for them. You want to build the products that work for them in that stage, right? So this is the point where you're saying that, okay, let me build an analytics chart, a reporting chart that shows them what they've been investing so far. Let me also build a referral feature where they can refer friends and invite people, probably a referral code, or where they can copy a link, right? So that's happening that, oh, this user has enjoyed our product, and then what's next, right? So you want to also build features that satisfy all of those things, right? The what next of the user, right? So that explains the user journey. Now, this user journey is very, very important. Very, very important because it helps you know where you should build on, like what's missing, right? So for instance, let me look at someone's name on the call right now. Let me say Ifoma or Ogunyemi, right? I employ you into Flutterwave tomorrow. Now, Flutterwave already has a product. You'll be thinking, what am I going to do? I'm a product manager at Flutterwave. Everything is working. Now, there's a lot of work, right? So the way you would know that there's a lot of work is by looking at the user journey. You now analyze that, okay, do we have enough acquisition features? What happens after users generate the payment link? You now start building features from those things. You now start developing the other legs, the arms and leg of the product, right? So there is no product that is at the final stage. Every product always needs constant retooling, constant development, constant addition, right? So that's why the user journey helps you to know how to capture those things, right? So if this is clear, please type yes in the comments if you understand this to this point. So let me see yes in the comments. Do you understand this point? Awesome. Awesome. Thank you for this. All right. So now the question you will now ask me is that, okay, you told me, Mr. Shion, you told me that, okay, there are features I need to build based on the user journey. How do I find this feature? Where do I understand? Like what? How do I know where these features will come from? Right. So there's a framework called the MUCDC, right? Primarily, what you see online is the EMUC. That's the popular one, right? But as a result of my experience, because the truth is that as you're learning this, you're also going to include your experience into what you have learned. And that's how you are developing the field of product management. So for me, my own addition to this theory is that aside from the EMUC, there's a DC, which is an addition by me, right? So I highlighted that, okay, all of these things within the MUC DC framework help me to know the features I need to build. And I'll explain them one by one. Now, employees are the first point. Now, as a product manager, you find out that people working in the company can suggest features to you that, oh, okay, the engineering team is telling you that, why not let's have a feature that helps people to save a picture on the sign-up page. Then the salesperson, customer service is telling you that, oh, please let us have a feature where people can complain whenever the app is not working. I don't like when they are calling me every time. Why can't they log their issues on the mobile app, right? Then the same thing, the lawyer, the legal person of the company is also telling you that, I think the KYC flow for this product is not perfect. Why do I need to be signing? Why do I need to be seeing each of these pictures one by one? Why do I need to be verifying their identities one by one? Can't you have like an OCR by Google that just verifies automatically? Now that's a feature, right? So there's so many features that will come from the employees within the business, right? So you want to capture that in one pot. So that's a pot where you know that, okay, anything that comes from my employee, I highlight it, right? Then there are also other suggestions within the team. So for instance, the customer service can say, oh, can you give us a dashboard where I can view all the customers of this product? Now, what this means is that as a product manager, you are considering that feature request from your employees. So it's not only customers, right? It's not only your customers that can suggest features to you. Your employees are they are very good source points. Now, the second point is the metrics. So metrics are the product metrics. So for instance, you are using a mobile app. You see them ask you, are you satisfied? Please rate us, give us a 5-star, or between 1 and 5. How well are you able to recommend them to other people? I'm sure you must have seen things like that on different products. So the metrics they are trying to get is to help them know if they need to fix that feature or if that feature is working as intended, right? So metrics also is a very good source for understanding features. So for instance, if I'm in a Flutterwave now, I'll go and look at their metrics. Okay, transaction volume is low, transaction value is low. Okay, what this means is that there's a payment issue. Let me go to the payments page. Let me see how well are users able to pay. How well are users able? So you now know that, okay, I need to build a feature that can accept payments in a different way. right? So metrics are very good sources for getting features, understanding where to get your features. Now, you also have trends. You have trends. Now, trends are more like, so for instance, and I'll give an example. Um, you have some products that pick out, and okay, yeah, I think I found the perfect example. How many of you have heard of Pockets by Piggy Vest, right? If you've heard of Pockets, let me type it in the chat box. Let me hear it. Let me see it. All right. How many of you have heard of Pockets before? Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you. So if you check Pockets, right? If you see the way the Pocket dashboard looks like, you see that it looks like your Instagram, right? They built Pockets like the way your Instagram actually works. Now, Pockets is not a social networking platform. It's a payments platform, right? But why did they have to do that? Why did they have to build it in a way that it's like you're using Instagram, really? It's because of they understand the trends. They understand that, okay, we are targeting Gen Z, people that are young, and these people are familiar with Instagram and how Instagram works. If we build a product that works like Instagram, there are chances that these people will use it faster, right? So that's what it means. You are looking at what is in vogue, what are people doing, you analyze consumer behavior, you look at what is in the industry, right? You're getting all of that facts, right? So that's what trends mean. So when you look at trends, you can get features, inspiration of features based on what you've analyzed, as a trend. Then the third one, which is the most important, is the customers, right? Now, obviously, that customers are already available to tell you things they need. That, oh, okay, can we get a feature that can give me 5 million naira in a week? That's an example, right? So customers will also have features to give you as a product manager. They will have a lot of things to tell you that, oh, please, tell us, please. I'm sure if you go on UBA or First Bank or GT Bank and you check their feedback survey, you see a lot of people tell you that, GT Bank, please remove this thing. I want something that does this. Now, those are examples of customer feature requests, right? So then you have delights and then you have competitors, right? Delights actually means that, okay, now this, you're not asking anybody. You are basically looking at something you are introducing that can wow the customer, right? And I'll give you an example, right? I'll give you a very good example. You must have used some products that when you signed up, probably when you tapped on one button, you probably saw something rolling or something vibrate somewhere, and then there's a pop-up, and then you're like, wow, this is beautiful. You didn't even see that coming, right? Now, that's delight. They are delighting you as a customer. Now, that features that delight the customers are what you classify under delight, right? So they didn't request for it. Nobody told you about it, but you figure that, okay, if I put this in somewhere, chances are there's going to be some sort of amazingness. People are going to be wowed about it. So you also want to classify those types of features. The final one is competitor, right? So for competitors, you're looking at what other people are doing, right? Okay, I'm building a Web3 product. I will need to go and check Binance and see, okay, Binance, what is the new thing they're doing? Oh, let me go and check examples, Yellow Card. Check what Yellow Card is doing. Check Bundle. What's Bundle Africa doing, right? So you can get feature inspirations from your competitors, right? And that's why when Snapchat came out, you can see that Facebook instantly introduced their own stories. Before you know it, Instagram will start having stories. Then TikTok also, everybody's trying to capture something other people are doing so that they would not die, their product will not die, right? So you must also get inspiration from your competitors, right? So I believe these 6 critical feature sourcing explanation I've just given will help you to know that, as a product manager, if they employ you tomorrow and they ask you, what product, what features are you building for us? You know what to build because you know where you can get them. You know where to sniff for those features, those opportunities, right? So that being said, the next thing we'll be looking at is the user story. I've had people write to me to ask that, oh, Sheon, how do I write a user story? Right? Can you help me look at this, what I prepared? Does it look good? Is this good enough for a user story? So we're going to be looking at that here, right? Now, the way the way user stories are written from product to product, it varies. There are some variations, so many variations, and I can't tell you this is the right one, this is the wrong one. There are so many conventions, and sometimes it's based on the kind of product you're building, right? So the first thing I like to say is that there are actually two types of stories you can write. There's a user story and there's the system story. User story, system story. So user story is that, oh, as a user, I want to be able to delete my pictures, meaning that that's a delete feature. As a user, I want to sign up. That means that there's a sign up feature. As a user, I want to log in. That means that there's a login feature. So those are user stories for those features. Now, system story. Now, that is on the back end, like on the front end, things that are not related to the users, things that are related to the infrastructure, right? So as a platform, we need to increase our server space from maybe 20 gig to 100 gig. The user doesn't know about this. Is your product itself, because if you don't do it, your server will begin to crash. Now, it means that you must factor those things in, right? And I'll tell you why. It's because of the sprint you're building, because your developers, your resources, everybody you're working with, you are using their time. So based on what they're working on, you must be able to allocate based on the available task, right? So that's why you must capture all the requirements, all the things that they need to build. You must capture it first so that you now know how to assign. Who am I assigning to what? And when should I expect a deadline? And then you also know how to advise the management that, okay, if we are building this, it will require 1 month. If you are building this, it will require 3 months. If you are building this, it will take 2 weeks, right? Because you can plan based on the features you have, right? So back to what I was saying, there's a user story and there's a system story. So note that, so that anytime you're writing your PRD, you know what to write and you know where you are writing it. Now, within the user story, there's so many elements, right? So many elements. You have the sub story. So within a story, there can be sub stories, and I'll show you examples later on. You also have assumption statements, right? Assumption statements helps you in capturing three critical things, right? So the first one is the happy path, the unhappy path, and the alternate path. The happy path, the unhappy path, the alternate path. That's what the assumption statement captures. Now, what does assumption statement means? It means that you want to assume that, okay, for this feature, if the user decides that they don't want to log in, they want to use their Google Mail, they don't want to type their password, they want to rather use their social media as an entry point. You want to factor that in as part of the things you must consider in the feature, right? So happy path means that if the user does the right thing, what's the flow going to look like? It means that, okay, the user follows the rules, that they type in the right password, they type in the right email, they verify their email, and they get into your dashboard, right? That's the happy path. And I'm giving that as an example. There are other happy paths for different features. For unhappy path, you're saying that, okay, if the user comes in and our server is down, what should we do? So this is where you're now saying that, okay, let us introduce a pop-up. Anything that makes the user not sign up after 50 seconds of being on that page, let us have a customer care number that displays on the screen so that you don't lose customers, right? So That's the unhappy part. We are already assuming that, okay, if this happens, what should we do? What feature, where should we introduce some elements based on the UI UX, right? Right. So that's what the unhappy part means. The only unhappy part captures the things that can possibly go wrong. So I'll give another example. Under your sign up, right? You know, the sign up, the users are meant to put in their emails, right? You know that for sure. They're meant to put their emails. Now, imagine another user go there and just type a phone number or type XYZ, just rubbish within the text box, just to game your system, right? Probably a fraudster, right? Now, if you have not planned out those paths, it means that your system can easily be broken into. Someone can just type XYZ in the email and then automatically they have an account. And imagine if you have robots that can do this multiple times, then they might crash your system. So it means that within the unhappy path, I'm telling my front end that in the email box, there must be the @ button, there must be a full stop, there must be .org or .com. The letters must not exceed 26. So I'm giving them the restrictions, the logic, because I factored in the happy, unhappy, and alternative path. Because users are different. People do different things. What about you have a user that is blind or who doesn't know how to operate their system properly, right? It means that you have to position your system or your product in a way that you will not run into problems, right? That's why you realize that if you've used some products before, you will see that you tapped on something and you are trying to delete, but you cannot see delete feature. Or maybe you saw something and you are trying to export and there is no place for you to export. So for that product, it's a case of the product manager not factoring in those assumptions, those other things that the user might want to do, right? So that's what the assumption takes care of. The assumption takes care of the good, the bad, and the ugly. Like, oh, what happens if they do the right thing? What happens if they do the wrong thing? What happens if our system or our server is down? Or what happens if the APIs are not responsive, right? What next? So those are the things you're now writing under your assumption statement. Then the alternate part is that, okay, let me create. So for instance, the sign up form, there's 20 things the user must give you as information, but you want to allow them to be able to skip it because it's not compulsory, right? So it means that, okay, you are thinking of alternate paths that, okay, let's have a skip button on the KYC flow so that users who don't want to fill the form can easily skip and go to the next page, right? So that's also something you must think about so that you will not lose customers. The product will not fail, right? So, and it helps you to, it's a barometer. I tell you today, right? As I am, right? In the products I build at the moment, I go back to these elements. Every time I work on a product, I go and read them again. I say, okay, Sheon, are you sure you've taken care of the happy parts? I take it as a checklist. I go back, check. Unhappy parts, have I taken care of it? I check it also. Alternative parts, what other options am I giving this user? What about if they cannot do this? What about if they don't have the information they need? Is there an alternative for them? So I check to make sure that I've taken care of those assumptions. So this information helps you to become a very holistic product manager, right? You're not just building a scrappy website. You're not building a product that's a baby is going to use. Users have options. Users can leave your product and choose another one tomorrow. So you must be very conscious of all of these things because customers are impatient. And the truth is that when a customer is unhappy about one product, they will never want to go back again. Before you convince a user to come back to a product they use and they do not enjoy the experience, it will take a lot of convincing, right? That's why you have to now, you have to factor in the UI, UX, the user experience, the user journey, the flow, right? As a product manager, that is why the company is hiring you because they know that without these things, there is no business for them, right? So yeah, please let me know if you've understood what I've shared so far. We're going to do some sort of brain drill later on, right? Where we'll be, in my classes, we always have games, we always have things that would just joggle your memory, right? So I'll introduce that later on, but please let me know what you've heard so far. What are your thoughts? You can omit your
Please, can
mic.
you go over how the different parts affect how they determine the acceptance criteria? I'm not sure I fully understand it.
Okay. How the paths affect the acceptance criteria, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So I'm going to show you a user story, and I'll give you an example of what that does. Um, I'll show you that. So, but aside from you, is there any other person that wants to say something?
Yeah, I have the same question. I didn't quite get it, the unhappy part, like the
All right. So I'm going to show you a typical example. All right. So
I have. Okay.
okay, just hold your question. I'll come to you. Let me answer this question quickly. Now, this is an example of an assumption statement, right? When users enter the accurate and acceptable form of password and email, they will get a feedback, which is a green box, right? So the UI UX person is putting this in their design that, okay, if they type in a password that is acceptable, show them a green box. I'm sure you've used, when you're signing up on Facebook, you see that happen a lot where when you put in the right information, you get a feedback that tells you that, yes, it is acceptable. Now, that's to tell you that I factored in the happy, the unhappy path, and the alternative path. In that case, I'm telling the user that if you don't give me the accepted criteria, you can't move forward, right? So if you read the other statements, it says when users enter an unacceptable or inaccurate password, they will get a feedback, which is going to be a red box. That is in the UI UX, right? So that's a criteria I'm setting. It's an assumption criteria that if the user does this, do this. If the user does not do this, do this. If the user does not even do anything, do this. So those are the scenarios, right? There are 3 scenarios. Happy path, the user does the right thing. Take care of that in your assumption statement. Second case, the user does the wrong thing. Take care of it also in your assumption statement. Third thing, the user does not do anything or the user needs help. Okay, on that alternative path, give them an opportunity to skip or an opportunity to a way out, right? So those are the 3 scenarios that you want to capture in your assumption statement. So if you read this, you see a lot of other examples. If a user does not want to enter an email and password, they have an option to use Google authentication as a sign-up method. Now, this is an alternative path, right? See the other things within the assumption statement. It says if a user opts for Google sign-up and their account is logged in already on Google, the user will have an account created on Credo automatically, right? So I've factored in all of those scenarios that, oh, if this happens, this should happen. If this does not happen, this should not happen. I think you understand this, right? So this is taking care of the login, right? This is for login and sign up. If you're looking for another feature, maybe a savings feature, right? Or maybe card payments feature, you are saying that, okay, make sure they enter their MasterCard number. The MasterCard number must start from 5322. You know, all of those assumptions that the user must not enter letters. If the user enters a letter instead of a number, show them an error, right? So I'm taking care of all of those scenarios in my assumption statement so that your products, they don't need to be calling your customer care every time, or they don't abandon it thinking that, oh, why do I not know what to do? So you want to make sure that the product itself is telling them, right? If they do something right, it's telling them that, yes, this is right, go ahead. If they are doing something wrong, you are telling them instantly and you are giving them the options of what to do next, right? Or how to correct that mistake, right? Right. So you see this a lot also when you are trying to submit a form and then you click on submit. It takes you back and says, oh, something is missing. And then it shows you those things that are missing in red, right? Now that's the unhappy part. It's telling you that the user is doing something wrong. Tell the user to go back, show them what the issues are so that they can fix it. Imagine if the product does not have that. It means that the user will not be able to submit. They are not seeing the error. They don't know what to do. They don't know what to fix. And guess what happens? They close the platform. They abandon it. And that's one customer lost, right? Your marketing team is going to be raking because they're like, oh, do you know what it took to convince this person to use this product? And because of UI UX, this guy left. So that's why your assumption statement is very, very crucial. So hope I answered your question.
Yes, you went above and beyond. Thank you very much.
All right, awesome. Who else? Someone wanted to speak. Please go ahead.
Yes, I think you answered part of it. I was just trying to have like a general overview of how, this is going to look like. So if you're going to,
I thought. Okay, go ahead.
okay, so if you're going to have, if you're building a project, right, and you want to break down the features into different, probably user stories. So you have the feature. Let's say you have feature one and feature two. Then feature one, you probably break it down into different epic. So are you saying that for every future, or for every epic, or for every user story, there has to be an assumption statement?
Absolutely. Absolutely. There has to be an assumption statement, because what the user story is telling you is telling you is a question of function, right? Is a question of function and capability. So, and I'll show you an example. Now, what you're seeing here, if you're looking at the screen, this part I've highlighted here. As a user, I want to be able to send invites to other users so that I can engage and transact with them. Now, this is a function, is a capability. So it means that what happens if they can't send an invite? What happens if they send a wrong invite? What happens if they don't know what invite to send? So that's where the assumption criteria comes in, because you now begin to answer all of those questions, right? So user stories takes care of functions and capabilities. So if you're saying login feature, the user story for login feature is saying that as a user, I want to be able to log in using my email and password so that I can access the dashboard. Now that's a user story for login. If you have another one that says, okay, maybe analytics feature, the story for that will now be, as a user, I want to be able to view my past transaction so that I can know what transactions to perform in future, right? So that's a user story, because the structure of a user story helps you to know that you're not just building something that is useless. You're building it because you know the user needs it for one reason, right? So if it's a system story, for instance, you say, oh, as a platform, I want to be able to store 20 gig of users' pictures when they upload so that the server space, do you get? So that's what the user story, that's what the story would be like for the system, right? So that's why this structure is very critical, right? The user story structure is very, very critical. Now, quickly, you have epics, right? And you have the stories. Now, epics are now high level definition. So for instance, under the epic, you can have you are classifying them that, okay, this is under onboarding. So onboarding epic now. Onboarding epic would include login, sign up, KYC verification, right? That's an epic, right? So epic classifies a lot of features. It's a group of features, right? You can have another one called payments. Now, if you're saying payments is an epic, it means that you have stories like payment link, payment button, card payment. All of those are going to be stories, user stories that are under the epic for payments, right? So that's the definition of that, right? Then the other thing you also want to consider within your structure is that you're also looking at who are the users, right? Now, you can have a feature that once user A is seeing something, user B must be aware of it, right? So, for instance, a user signs up. It means that the admin must get an email, right? So that's why the user types is important. That's this part you're seeing here, right? So you are looking at the people involved. Like this feature involves the admin and the user. Some other features, it might involve a user and another user. And I'll give an example. For ULesson, for instance, ULesson has two personas. They have teachers, they have students. Now, teachers have their own dashboard where they upload the product, upload the courses students have their own dashboard where they take the courses. Now, if a user submits an assignment, the teacher should be able to mark, right? So you must highlight who are the personas within that story so that you know that, okay, this feature affects 2 people. So it means that as you're taking care of user A, you're also thinking of user B and implementing those changes accordingly. So you don't build something that works for students and the teacher cannot have access to it or something, right? So that's why you have these user types within the user story. So like I mentioned, right, I'm saying that what you see online, the courses you've taken, I'm not so sure you'd have this granularity, right? Most of them might not go this deep. And you realize that when you now start the job, when you get on the job, you run into problems. Or when they tell you to write a user story, you don't know what to write because, or people will be like, why am I not getting offers? It's a case of some of these errors you are seeing. You are writing your user stories, you didn't capture your assumptions, you didn't capture user types. Those errors are what people see and know that, oh, this is not good for the job, or this person is excellent for the job, right? So these are critical things. The next thing I would show you is what they call the user flow, right? Now, the user flow is also important because it's part of the things within the user story, right? It's part of the elements, right, within the user story. And I'll give you that example shortly. Okay, I think I've spoken about sub-stories. Then I'll show you this shortly. So the only thing I've not spoken about here is this example here. You see examples where they say, given that this happens, when I upload this, then that's also an example of writing stories. So I just put this here so that when you see it somewhere else, you will not be surprised, right? It's also another way of writing user stories or capturing assumptions, right? So, but it's not mandatory, but it's also you see a lot of other people that adopt that in their own documentation. So yeah, so that's an example for you. So I think I'll give you an example of what a user flow looks like. So let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
The letters are tiny. Can you zoom in more?
All right. Is this better?
Kind of.
Can anyone else see this?
Yes.
Okay. Awesome. So this is what a KYC feature. So this is a feature, right? And this is what a user flow looks like, right? So they can ask you to build it as a product manager. Your UI UX person is telling you that you want me to design this feature, but I can't see what you want me to. How would it work? What do you want them to do? Now this is where it comes. So this is an example of the user flow. So so this is for KYC, and you can see the stages. So KYC includes image verification, utility bill verification, ID card verification, and BVN verification. Now, give this an example, right? In your own case, you might be working on a feature that has an entirely different flow, but you can see that within this visual, I've highlighted all the steps. So the first thing, grant camera access, open the app camera, takes a selfie. So these are the stages. So if, for instance, you download a mobile app, there's a pop-up that tells you to grant permission, right? Once you grant permission, you notice that your camera opens, your mobile camera opens. Then you notice that you take a picture, right? Now, that is what you are seeing exactly in this user flow, right? So this user flow will help the UI UX person to know how to present those screens, right? They would know the kind of screens to design and the way, the steps, the flow, right? So that's what the user flow does. So you can see this. This is a decision tree. It says, okay, is the image acceptable? If the image is not acceptable, tell the user to retake the image. If it is acceptable, automatically save the image. Then if they have other details, now see the alternate part here. I mentioned alternate parts. Now you can see here that says, if they don't have other details, allow them to skip and allow them to submit, right? So that is allowing them to go ahead, even if they don't have other details. Now, if they have other details, the UX is telling the person that, okay, go ahead and upload your utility bill, choose your utility type, upload the image, enter the bill ID, right? So this is what a user flow looks like. So if they ask you to design a user flow, this is exactly what you're doing. You are mapping out the steps, and you are building out those assumptions you wrote down. You are now capturing it in a visual format, so that when your product designer is building, they understand what they are building, and they can test it based on what you have predetermined, right? So the user flow will help them know how the product is meant to work, right? So this exactly captures everything. So I think this example explains. I'll give you, these are a lot of examples, a lot. Let me zoom out a bit so you can see a lot of other examples. You can see different user flows. These are different flows for different products, different features, right? So as a product manager, you must know how to build flows. You must know how to capture flows so that you know how to explain yourself during your stand-up meetings, right? Okay, so I just deleted that. Just a second. All right. All right, so who can just tell us what you've learned so far in 3 sentences? Unmute your mic. Let me know, what have you learned from this class critically that you know that you never knew this before? Please unmute your mic and then go ahead. Let's hear you.
Okay, good evening, everyone.
Yes, good evening.
So, first of all, Mr. Shi, I want to say thank you a whole lot for this class. I mean, you just made this user story thing make more sense. I didn't know there was something called system story. All right. So I think that is one thing I learned today. And also the persona types, the differentiation of the personal type depending on the product you're doing. That's also another thing I learned that we should pay attention to. And then, yeah, I mean, the assumption statements, how you went into the assumption statements at every point and at every level. Yeah, also, I'm sorry, I'm saying more than 3 things, but the feature sourcing thing, wow, that really helps. Thank you so much for this class.
Thank you so much. Very nice one. Thank you. Who else wants to speak?
All right, so good evening.
All right,
So,
good evening.
as our last week, right, I don't know what, I mean, from what I thought I learned about what user story was quite different. I mean, it's encompassing. It's not just writing as a user, I want to do this, I want to do that, and then coming to write acceptance criteria, giving that. I mean, it's more than that. That's one thing I learned. Yeah. Then secondly, like Tina mentioned, the fact that the MUCDC way of sourcing for features. I mean, I can a lot of persons were looking for me to source for feature for last week's assignment, and it was really a lot. So I mean, this is actually a way to source for features without even breaking your head. I mean, yeah, you have to break your head, but then and the fact that I had no idea, right? How to source a feature was something that was like a very crazy thing to do. So the way the MUCD is a way of sourcing for good features. And then yes, this PRD, like the whole book of this PRD, looking at it, right, I was scared when you open this document because that's the God, what you highlighted on, like if you look at the content of the document, you see that there's actually a lot, right? But then as you were breaking it down, I started seeing that they're like very important stuff for you to add to your PRD, right? Somebody mentioned that product management is quite difficult, like it's not easy, right, on the chatbot. And I'm looking at it like, yes, it's quite difficult, but then it's a means to learn and develop oneself. It's not something that is
in heaven, like something that you could source and then get more information about, and then add to your priority. And it's a way of developing one to become better product manager than your, I don't know, your counterparts, and then build better products. So yeah, basically that's it. Fine.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. All right, let me digress a bit. Let me tell you the beauty about product management. You don't need to come from any particular field, right? While in the university, I was in the humanities department. I actually studied English in school, right? And here, I mean, I have experience working as a product manager, right? Now, I'm sure on this call, I think in the chat box, do you mind telling me what you study individually? Just tell me, like in the chat box, what do you study in school? Let's just so you see that you don't need to be an expert somewhere, or you don't need to be a scientist. It's logic. Once you can understand logic, you can be a great product manager, right? So these are things that people pay a lot of money for, a lot of money. If Web3 wanted to sell this as a course, I know how much you would have paid, right? Or if I wanted to sell this as a cost to someone, a lot of, if in fact, a lot of existing product managers, right? People that already have jobs as product managers don't even know some of these things that you've learned today, right? So it's exposition to knowledge, right? And I'm glad that you're learning from my own story. And you're also learning from all I've learned also, because what you're seeing today is not something you can download on Google, right? You can't see this on an Udemy course, right? You find something entirely different. It can be new, it can be old, but it's going to be different, right? So, but I like the fact that this has exposed you to, the like, this is exactly what product manager is about, to be honest. If you can understand the PRD, you are essentially a product manager, even if you don't know anything. Because if you remember, we said user research. Where did we talk about it? Is in PRD. We talked about problem solving, design thinking. Where do we see it? Is in the PRD. We also talked about user story. Where do you also see this? It's also in the PRD. Metrics, where you see metrics on this same PRD. So you can see that if you can understand how to write the PRD, there's nothing stopping your product management journey, regardless of where you are. Crypto, health tech, fintech, anywhere. Same logic, same system, same flow. Just understand how it works, and then you're good to go. This is what is differentiating a product manager that is earning $10,000 per month and someone that's earning maybe 50K. Knowledge, basically. Knowledge. Like, you don't need to buy tools, you don't need to buy machinery, you don't need to be physically there. You can work remotely anywhere. Knowledge, just know how to present value, right? And then you're good, right? You can sell yourself to a board of director and they'll be wow, you mean this is why our product has been losing millions of dollars? This is it. It's not rocket science, right? So that captures it. The final thing which you'll be learning today, my final class is tomorrow, right? I think I'm taking a class tomorrow, then I'm taking another class next week. Yeah, I think so. I'm not. I'll verify that. So, so this is the final thing we'll learn on this PRD document, which is the Moscow and t-shirts. But I think I should delay this for tomorrow because I feel like you've learned a lot of things today. I feel like you are loaded, like you're already loaded. I think I should just keep this for tomorrow, right? Yeah, I think I should keep this for tomorrow so that we'll pick up the pace. Let me see what else I need to share with you that I have not shared within a minute. Or let me put this to a vote. If you want me to teach this, you can, let's vote in the comments. Say yes, go ahead. If not, no. Let's see who wins. Then I'll make a decision. But let me check if I didn't miss anything on my notes. Awesome. Okay. Okay, so I think we'll push this till tomorrow. So yeah, we'll capture this tomorrow. I think uh, just a second. I just want to check out my notes to be sure that. Okay, just a second. Okay, so I think from what we've learned so far, um, I think we're good. We're actually good. We're actually very, very good. Tomorrow, I'll continue. So tomorrow we'll look at other things that we missed out. The roadmap, the question on the roadmap, the one on the user story. I'm sorry, the user flow, uh, computer analysis. Well, I think next week we'll look at the wireframe aspects. But yeah, I mean, absolutely very, very fantastic session. I'm very happy that I was able to teach this class. So what this means is that tomorrow you must get ready, right? Try and what we've learned today, research on it so that you absorb it. Then for tomorrow, prepare your mind, relax. If it's for you to take five alive and shawarma or whatever makes you happy, do that. And, open up your mind tomorrow. Let's do this. I mean, I won't teach you forever, right? So it means that this short time we have together, you want to maximize it. You want to, take advantage of this, right? Yeah, so tomorrow's class, I'll try to teach you the other things that we didn't look at today. So, right, questions, right? Questions. Let's have questions before we close the class. Please go ahead if you have questions.
Okay, good evening.
Yes, go ahead.
Good evening. Mine is not a question. I want to thank you very much for this class because I'm just transitioning into tech. But I want to ask if this example that you shared with us will be shared along with the slides that will be shared with us later in the Slack channel.
Oh, look at you. Look at you. You're looking for free expo.
No, it's not expo now. Something we can easily prepare, but a lot of things I heard today,
Yes,
they're
absolutely.
actually new to me.
Absolutely.
And
yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. No problem. I was just joking, right?
All right, thanks. Then I also want to ask if there are roles for internship or something because I'm on a training on product management, product school somewhere, and I've not gotten this kind of detailed class. I don't know if there are internship opportunities or something, even if it's something we're going to pay for to learn the ropes before we go into the market or something. If we have that opportunity so that I can key into it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. No problem. I mean, if time allows us in future, we will look at first things you need to do. 90 days, like we could even do a 90 days challenge, first to get a job in PM, right? I'll give you the steps, that's if I'm not promising, right? But that's if the scope is allowed. I can even go further to break down all the things you need to learn for, to map out your career path. But I mean, no problem. Thank you for that. Who else? You can unmute your mic if you haven't.
So I just want to say that this last part you just said, thank you so much. I really appreciate you.
Or okay, let me go since Maureen has muted her mic. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Sheung. Like my head is literally busting. and it's a lot to take in. I appreciate the class. Well taught. So I have the quiz. I kind of like got mixed up somewhere when you were talking
All right.
about you said something about when like if you're in a stand-up interview and they say
All
give
right.
a user story to a product that is in the decline stage, what do
Okay.
you do as a so like I'm trying to like visualize it. Is it in a stand-up interview? That's when I'm going to do the one you said with persona. You have to like target the right personas using the product. Is it in front of the stand-up interview? I'm going to do that, or is it like the PM interview come with you have enough time frame to like go back, do the questionnaire, source the user story, source the user and the system features before you give feedback? Like as in, I don't know how to place one or two together for in that
Okay.
particular aspect.
Okay. So I'll give you an example. Um, during a job interview I did one time, right? I had two levels of interview actually. There is the first level where they ask, tell me about yourself, all of that basics, you get that in the first interview. Now, the second level interview, we joined the call, they divided us into breakout sessions and they said, you know what, we're going to give you 1 hour. Within that 1 hour, come up with a PRD. So in some cases, they would even give you the problem statement that, oh, there's a business that has this, give us a wireframe, or give us the features that are within a particular screen. So it depends on the task, right? Some, they may ask you to write a user story. But then, remember, what helps you is when you understand the length and breadth of your role, right? You remember I told you that there are 5 stages. There's the research, plan, build, release, all of that. So it is from your experience with all of those terminologies that you know what they're asking you to do. So if it's a wireframe, right, you know that, okay, that comes within the building phase, because before you build something, there must be a prototype, right? So all of that. So if it's in the if they're asking you a question about users, you know that, oh, you need to think about user research, you need to think about usability testing, and all of that. So once you know the structure of everything, you will know what they're asking you to do, and you know how to focus on those things, right? And then the other thing I wanted to say is that there are some scenarios where you are the one that will give your own assumptions, right? So they'll ask you that, okay, this business made 10 billion naira loss last year. What should we do? Now, in your own response, you're now going to say that, okay, before I can answer this, I need to know what's the value of what the total number of users are. I also need to know what the number of the probably user flow, for instance, right? Then you now go further to say that, okay, for the sake of this test, I'm going to assume that customers are XYZ and these flows are XYZ. Then you now answer the questions accordingly based on the variables. So see what they did. They did not give you the entire information. They expect you to think, right? They expect that, okay, as a product manager, they gave you a teaser to what the problem is, right? They didn't give you more, but because they want to see how good you are, you're now saying that, okay, I need this, and this to come up with this solution. But because of this, because we are doing this test in 1 hour, I will assume that this figure is this and this figure is this. And these are the solutions I'm suggesting based on those problems, right? So you are working with assumptions and you are basing your variables or the features you are recommending. You are basing it on those assumptions you've made that, okay, I'm assuming that the user cannot do this. So it means that the solutions I'm preferring is there must be a login feature, there must be this. So that helps you, right? So I hope you understand that to this point.
Yes, yes. Thank you very much. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. So you won't have all the answers when they won't give you all the things you need in the questions, in the interview questions. It is now you that will now say, okay, I need to ask them the right question. And then I also want to generalize so that they know that I know what I need to, but I'm putting in this figure so that it can help me make other solutions or come up with other things, right? So possibly maybe at the end of the class next week or something, we can do some sort of research and then we can attempt some of those things together and then you see how it works.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Thank
All right.
you.
All
All
right.
right.
Good evening. Thank you so much for the class. I feel like I already have the answers to my question, but I just want to hear what it is. From the whole class, okay, from the class, there was a particular point where we had different is it flows and all of that. Does it mean that as a product manager, it is a requirement for you to know a little bit about product design, or how do you go about all these flows? I mean, some of us do not actually have idea about it, about we don't have idea about these things at all. So does it mean we have to actually have a background knowledge on product design and all of
No,
that?
no,
Thank you.
not at all. In fact, just so you know, this is a personal secret. Please don't say it in public. I hate designs. I'm not a designer. I probably don't know even how to draw,
But you
right?
designed a lot of, I don't know, is it
Yeah,
flows now?
yeah. That's to tell you that it's basic and it's simple. So it means that
But you said you like optics.
right. So that's just to tell you that if for me, who does not even do so much, who doesn't like it, it means you can do it. It means that it's not so hard. Once you can learn the basics, you are good to go. So for the user flow, uh, that's actually very simple. There's a mirror. There's a platform called Mirror where you can easily map out the boxes. Probably next class I'll show you that. Remind me to tell you how to do that next class. Probably I'll just do a small sketch and then you see how that works. There's a class for wireframing. Either tomorrow or next week. I'll also show you how the wireframing is done. Simple as ABC. Like, in fact, I think after that class, everybody would even know how to do it easily, right? Very, very easy. I'll show you. It's so simple, right? So next class, we'll talk about that, right? So is that all? Do you have any more questions? I think we have
Please,
about.
can you go over what the system story is real quick, please?
So the system story captures the requirements from the system side, right? From the system side. So you have the user story. You are thinking of the user's requirements. That, okay, user wants to do this. User wants to download. Users wants to delete. Users want to upload. That's what users want to do on the front end, so that they have to see it in the UI UX. Now there's the system part of it, and that's where you hear things like technical depth. When they say technical depth, it comes from the system, the back end. So for instance, you built an MVP. Now in that MVP, your server or your staging environment can only take care of maybe 50 users, right? Now you built your MVP, everybody's seeing it, is working, everything is working fine. You now forgot that your server needs to be expanded because of traffic. By the time the traffic comes and people are uploading images, signing up, the database is clogged. You now realize that the server is now slow. Now, you have to account that as a task. So you have to write a story for that. Okay, as a platform, we need to be able to do this and this. Then there's a requirement for it also that, okay, backend, make sure that this system can acquire or allow 10,000 users to log in. You want to capture all of that. So it's not the user's problem. The user does not even care about it. They don't even know that exists. But on the system side, we know that those things are important, right? So it could be down to your packages, things that you install, maybe some sort of softwares that are important, that are part of the products, that are things that you strapped into the product, right? So you write all of that within the system story part. So does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
All right. So my time is up. Thank you very much. I mean, very interesting class. I really, really enjoyed myself. And like I said, obviously, I wish I could do this, but you know that there's going to be a timeline. It means that for as long as we have our classes, take advantage of everything you are hearing, take advantage of that knowledge, because I wish I also learned this while I started, right? So I'm sure a lot of you will not also make the same mistakes I made, because you are now a better version, right, of yourself. So Barring any more, is there any other thing, any more things? We can probably have like 2 minutes to close that out before we call it a wrap. Do you have any more? I think I saw some people's hands raised. I don't know. If we have like 2 more minutes to close that out and then we'll call it a wrap. Is there any more? All right. I think we're good. We're all, or can you still hear me? Just to be sure.